Okay, it's 6:05. We're going to start our meeting. So let's start off with the flag salute. And who just put a piece of pizza in their mouth? We'll start with that person to give it. Would you be so kind?
I would. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay, today is the 8th of July, and it is 6:06, so we're starting up. We're going to, agenda item number 1, let's do roll call. If we have any students in the house, I see a lot of people in the audience who could be considered students, but no one raised their hands. So, all right. There he is. Okay. So let's go ahead and take roll, please.
John Barbera.
Here.
Nick Christensen here. John Domiglio is excused. Larry Eaton.
Here.
Craig Goldfarb and Cynthia Gagne are excused. Gwen Henry.
Present.
Melanie LeBrun.
Here.
Kelly Miller.
Here.
Abby Norman. Thomas Norman.
Here.
Ray Regalado.
Here.
Michael Signorelli.
Here.
Adam Stevenson.
Here.
Angela Sumner.
Here.
Chris Valle.
Here.
Okay, that is, and we have one vacancy, so that is definitely a quorum. What's that, 17 minus 4? It's 13.
All right. So moving on to agenda item number 2. This is selection of officers. The ever-present Lori Jacobs will be running this. Thank you, Lori, for helping us out on this.
Good evening, Board. We will be
Go
ahead.
Yes.
We'll be conducting the election of officers for the new year, and we're going to start off with office of president. Anybody can make a nomination. Anybody can nominate themselves. So do I have the nominations are open for president?
I nominate Ray Regalado for president.
I second that.
I'll take it. I mean,
You accept that
I'll accept
nomination?
it. That's all right.
Do we have any other nominations for the office of president? Seeing no hands, we can close the nominations. Mr. Regalado, did you want to give a 10-second speech?
You know, I have been doing this for quite a while, and you've all been very nice to nominate and elect me as president. I think if there's one thing that I'm going to be focused on this year, should I get the office, is I want to make sure that everyone participates to the level that our community expects us to participate. So we're going to kind of start the new year making sure that everyone's participating at our meetings and also at committees. We need more people at our committees, I've noticed. So thank you for the 10 seconds.
Okay. Vic, you're going to do roll call?
Since we only have one, you can just say yes or no. John Barbera.
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. Larry Eaton.
Yes.
Gwen Henry.
Yes.
Melanie LeBrun.
Yes.
Kelly Miller.
Yes.
Abby Norman.
Yes.
Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorelli.
Yes.
Adam Stevenson.
Yes.
Angela Sumner.
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
Okay, that's 13 ayes. That's unanimous.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Thank you.
We will now open up nominations for vice president. Do I have any nominations? John?
Chris Valle.
Does somebody second it?
You don't have to.
So we don't have
You
to.
don't have
You
to
don't have to? But it's just fun.
It's
Okay.
nice.
It is.
Adams seconded that.
Okay. Do we have any other nominations for vice president?
As this is just to keep things spicy and to have others consider the roles in the future, I would like to nominate Thomas Norman for vice president, just to give it a little mix-up and challenge.
Thomas, do you accept the nomination?
I'm very flattered and honored, but I think Chris is doing a good job, so maybe next year, but thank you for the consideration.
Any other nominations? Seeing no hands, we'll close nominations for vice president, and Vic, you can take the roll, or the vote count.
Once again, we only have one, so just yes or no. John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. Larry Eaton,
Yes.
Gwen Henry,
Yes.
Melanie LeBrecq,
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Abby Norman, Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Ray Regalado,
Yes.
Michael Signorelli,
Yes.
Adam Stevenson,
Yes.
Angela Sumner, Chris Valle.
Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous again.
Congratulations,
And I
Mr. Vice
believe-
President.
Just one quick correction. I believe the bylaws say that the highest ranking has to not vote unless there's a tie. So in this case, I don't think Ray is eligible to vote. And I didn't catch
think
that
you're
until
right.
after
Now
I
that
did
Do
it.
you want to recount it then, Vic?
So that would be 12 and 1.
Thank you. Okay, next we have the office of secretary. Do we have any nominations for secretary?
I would like to nominate Vic Christensen.
Do you accept the nomination, Vic?
Yes.
Any other nominations? Yes? You're waving, okay. Okay, if we have no other nominations for secretary, Cheryl will take the vote count on this.
Yes.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Congratulations, Mr. Christensen. The next four offices all are required to be on the Budget and Finance Committee. Okay, so we're going to start off with Treasurer. Do we have any nominations for that fun position?
I nominate Melanie LeBlanc.
Do you accept the nomination? Do we have any other nominations for Treasurer? Nominations are now closed. Vic, you can take the count.
Okay, again, yes or no? John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. Larry Eaton,
Yes.
Gwen Henry,
Yes.
Melanie LeBrecq,
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Abby Norman,
Yes.
Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Ray Regalado,
Yes.
Michael Signorelli,
Yes.
Adam Stevenson,
Yes.
Angela Sumner, Chris Valle.
Yes.
Okay, unanimous once again.
Congratulations, Ms. LeBrecq. Next, we have the second signer, who, as I said, needs to be on the Budget and Finance Committee. And I believe this role, the person needs to sign each item that the treasurer has to submit to the city clerk, right?
And also, they fill in for me if I'm not here.
Okay. Okay, do we have any nominations for second signer?
John Barbera?
Do you accept?
If I have to, yes.
Oh, you have to. Any other nominations? Okay, nominations for second signer are closed. Vic, vote count.
John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. Larry Eaton,
Yes.
Gwen Henry,
Yes.
Melanie LeBrecq,
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Abby Norman, Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Ray Regalado,
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Is that an
Michael Signorelli.
abstain for him? Yes. Still?
Adam Stevenson,
Yes.
Angela Sumner, Chris Valle,
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that, and we'll
I
just,
think it is on all the officers. It's an abstain because these are considered financial officers.
okay. No.
Raise and
Ray.
abstain on
We're
all
gonna-
of them.
Yeah,
I guess
No, it's
it would be abstained because it would be eligible if there's a tie.
Thank you. Congratulations.
I will double check with the bylaws.
Congratulations, Mr. Barbera. Credit card holder, Melanie, you want to give a quick review of what
So,
that is?
Credit card is the person that holds a credit card, and they're the ones that do all the purchases and pay the bills, et cetera, a lot of the bills and things like that. So generally what we've done is the main credit card holder is the treasurer, is the way that we've done for the 9 years that I've been on the council. But so
Okay, having heard that, does anybody want to nominate somebody for the credit card holder?
I nominate myself.
Oh, okay. There you go. Do you accept for yourself? Okay, any other? Nominations closed. Vote count, Nick.
John Bevera,
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. Larry Eden,
Yes.
Gwen Henry,
Yes.
Melanie LeBrock,
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Abby Norman, Thomas Norman, Michael Signorelli, Adam Stevenson, Angela Sumner, Chris Faye.
Yes.
Okay, that's 12 ayes.
Congratulations again, Melanie. And the last office we're going to do is second credit card holder, which is backup in case Melanie is not available. Do we have any nominations for second credit card holder, Melanie?
I nominate Vic.
Vic, do you accept that nomination?
I accept.
Do we have any other nominations? Okay, nominations are now closed. Cheryl, could you take the vote count? She's asking you, Vic.
What?
No.
Did I? No.
It's only the president.
The president is the only one that abstained. No, he didn't. It was just Ray.
Yes.
Aye.
Yeah. Aye.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Congratulations, everyone. And I think this was the fastest we've ever done via.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to agenda item number 3. That's general public comment. I do have some cards here already. Let's see. Yeah, I have 3 so far. So if there's any others, get them up here really quick, if you would. So let's start off with our first speaker card, and that's from Ellen Franz.
Do the timing right?
2 minutes.
I'd like to first congratulate the officers who have just been reelected.
Thank
and all the board members for giving their time to better the community. I would like to talk primarily about outdoor activities. As most of you, hopefully all of you are aware, here in Peck Park there are a variety of recreational activities, and one comparatively new one is the Friends of Peck Park Canyon, which is trying to increase usage and restore habitat in the canyon behind this building, which has a lovely trail with views across the Los Angeles basin. There is a free exercise walk on the 3rd Wednesday of every month and a free nature walk on the 4th Saturday of every month. And just last Saturday, we had a volunteer day and we were able to make considerable progress in maintaining the native plant restoration area near the intersection of, Walker and Elberon. I'd also like to call your attention to another outdoor opportunity. The Palos Verdes Peninsula Land Conservancy has monthly walks various places in San Pedro and around the peninsula. This coming Saturday, there is a walk at Abalone Cove, and that's a drive along the coast from here. But if you have any interest in geology and the landslides that have been happening in the Portuguese Bend area, you can go to this walk, and there will be people who can explain at least the basics of the landslide. And just driving along PV Drive South to Abalone Cove Shoreline Park, you get to experience what's been going on as the slide has been moving up to 13 inches a day. So the road is in pretty nasty shape. And there are still wildflowers at the Abalone Cove Park and nice views along the coast and an opportunity to see some of the Land Conservancy's restoration work. There are copies of this on the table back here and also outside the door. So this has directions to Abalone Cove Shoreline Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 2, speaker card number 2 is Tony Mercandante.
Hello. I'll try to keep this short, but got a couple things to say here. My name is Tony Mercadante. I live in San Pedro. Just regarding the fireworks, all the fireworks polluting the air here is interesting. Related to that, my property taxes have increased. Property taxes have not increased for people that don't pay taxes. Car insurance, homeowners insurance have all increased and would increase more if illegal fireworks cause homes or apartments to burn down. Ask yourself how much insurance payout would be versus cost to rebuild if your house burned down. For the selfish people in the city of LA that light fireworks, think about this. Consider using behavior modification, aka negative reinforcement, by increasing the fine to $50,000 per incident and giving $200 for each incident to police officers every time they catch someone lighting these M80 sticks of dynamite and louder explosives in June and July. Just moving on to another topic here. Let's stop the car chases that the LAPD are doing in this way. I am for the car chases, but in this situation, if the police have to chase a car more than 10 minutes, it should be an automatic 5-year prison sentence in the city of LA. Just forget about any other penalties. These people are causing a lot of problems, and if you look at the cost of people that have their car crashed, you can see it adds up. I've been reading about the ocean here and all the beaches closed with bacteria, but there's another problem also. The PFAS chemicals in the water off the San Pedro coast. It would be great if you could get the word out to keep the residents here updated on what's being done to clean that up, possibly with the help from state and county. As you know, some tourist revenue that comes to the city of LA, including LAX, that revenue comes from people that want to enjoy the ocean. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. The next and last card that I have here is from Gwendolyn Henry as a stakeholder.
Hi, all. I've provided all of you on the board a copy of the minutes from the June 11th meeting of the Board of Animal Services Commissioners. And I wanted to notify you that, I'd like to actually ask that the budget advocate look into the cutting of the budget of the Animal Services Department to the tune of $1,039,128, as well as the deletion of jobs that were for animal services, which in this last budget was cut. This This comes as a surprise and a shock to me as a stakeholder and a tremendous disappointment because our shelters are heavily overfilled. The staff is heavily overworked. It is stressful for the animals. It is the staff, I would say, is going through PTSD in what they have to deal with in the shelters, in the kennels. And this is where it really comes home. Our staff member, Leslie, who is the director of the Harbor Animal Shelter, she is the most highly trained staff member in that shelter. She is the center of inspiration and keeping the staff going, and she helps to motivate a very dedicated group of volunteers who literally walk the dogs that are walkable just nonstop all day. And yet there's too many animals there. On May 31st, she was attacked by a dog that ripped her legs apart, that chewed on her head. The staffing is so low there that she was not heard from when she went into this particular kennel for this very dangerous dog. As the highest trained staff, she is the person who is to manage the most red-listed animals. She's the only one who's responsible and capable enough with the training enough. And as a city worker, that's her responsibility. No one was in the kennel. Her leg was bitten. She tried to get out of the kennel. The dog followed her and continued to maul her. She is, as far as I know, as of last week, she was still in the hospital, and this occurred on May 31st. When you go to the animal shelter and you go into the offices, and this has been there for months now, there is a poster on the office of the director, Leslie, and she continues to warn her staff about the dangers and to be very vigilant with the animals. That it's just picture after picture of a mauling. Arms ripped, legs ripped, cuts, rips, bites. And she was one of the most dedicated and most warning and really trying to keep her staff in, and yet there was nothing that could be done. When it gets to that level and we cut the funding and we cut the staffing and there's no additional addressing of this, it's very serious. I ask that the Public Safety Committee look at legislation that's coming up. There is a review of euthanasia that was completely cut off back in 2019 by the previous general manager in 2019. It's created a situation where truly dangerous animals they are there and they are stuck there, not rescuable, and it's a difficult process. This is being reviewed. There are other things that are being reviewed. But I would hope, public safety would review some of the legislation that's coming down the road, and the budget advocate, please write a letter regarding the funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. Okay, that brings us to the end of public comment. I have no other cards at this point, so we're going to move on to agenda item number 4, and this is to discuss and approve the letter that is in your package for the Vincent Thomas Bridge redecking project. This is our public comment, and let me give you just a quick idea just what has been going on for the past 10 months, actually, when we first got wind of this bridge project. It started off with a scoping meeting on virtually, and then in Wilmington. And the public Wilmington scoping meeting because of the extensive and well thought out outreach that Caltrans did, had a whopping 4 community members showing up at that meeting. Now, for a project as big and as much as it's going to affect our communities, 4 people coming just to understand what this project is all about is unheard of. When they had the virtual meeting, I think they got as many as 50 around, that many there. So that's still really low. So with that said, there was an ask and advocacy for a community advisory committee for Caltrans so that the community is involved in all the meetings that Caltrans is having to inform what the project's looking like. And then there was also a ask for a 90-day public comment period. 90 days. This is unheard of with Caltrans. You usually get 30. You're lucky if they give you 45. We were able to get them to give us 90. We are coming to the end of that 90-day period. That is why this particular letter that's here in our package is so important that you understand what we're asking for, what is needed so that Caltrans continues, at the very least, continues to be informative to our community as to what they're doing, how they're doing it, how it's affecting the communities and everything when that bridge shuts down. The letter that's in here is a very, I would have to say, a very complete letter going through different areas of concerns. It was sent out to each and every one of you, and I hope you all took the opportunity to read it. And hopefully you will approve the letter that we have in front of us. So with that said, I'd like to just say one last thing. I really would like to thank the hard work that Diana and Pat made and did for this letter. I'd like to also thank Vic Christensen for his comments. He provided comments on this. A lot of hard work goes into being thoughtful about what these things are. Also, John Barbera and Dan Dixon, they provided comments also. And all these comments have been incorporated into this letter. So I thank you all for hopefully reading it and understanding the importance that we provide this, because I want to impress upon you, when that bridge shuts down, when it shuts down, it's going to affect every single one of us as community members. I will say that Wilmington will probably be the hardest hit because most of the traffic that will be detoured off the bridge will be going through Wilmington. And they did a lot of traffic studies in and around that particular community and the surrounding communities around the bridge. One of the things that we have in our letter is that I truly do not believe that Caltrans did an effective job in understanding how much it will affect the community of San Pedro also. So with that said, I'd like to open up the conversation and hopefully get your approval to send this version that we have here. Okay, we'll start off with Chris, and then Melanie, and then Vic.
I would like to suggest that other board members support the letter as I plan to. I think that it really hits all the most important concerns pretty directly. That is how, emphasizing the utility of a shorter complete closure, emphasizing the infrastructure improvements needed for Wilmington and the roads that are going to become our truck detour routes. issues that have, they've been on the radar and on the game board for a very long time. And I think it's kind of backhanded fortune that we now have a requirement that these things are improved. But, we've been asking that some of these surface streets and that the situation in Wilmington be addressed for a very long time. And so I think that maybe having the shortest possible calendar for the project helps in that it also increases the operational tempo for these surface improvements. So, if you have 48 months to work on something, I wouldn't be surprised if there's certain things that don't get repaved for 18 months. If you have 16 months, then hopefully something will happen within 4 to 6. And, I think that cracking the whip and being as insistent as possible and really just driving the point home that Wilmington's going to take this right on the chin. It's going to be difficult for everybody, but this is a regional disruption. And I think Ray's right that Caltrans maybe was just looking at a map of the roads and didn't really take into account how much is going on for the people who live here, and of course the 40% of our national economy that goes across those bridges. So,
thank you. Cheryl, your hand was up. Is something? Oh, well, we're just kind of getting comment on it first.
We need to move it before discussion.
Okay.
So moved.
Seconded by Gwen.
Norman.
Okay.
And second one?
Gwen.
So,
Now we can go to discussion.
Mel.
Thank you. Okay. I think Caltrans kind of dropped the ball on this because I think they were kind of looking at the detour. And that's all their concern was, their layout detour, and that's it. But they have to consider people are going to see traffic and that detour totally backed up. And the thing that's going to happen, they're going to go up on Western, they're going to come down Capitol, they're going to go North Gaffey, and they're going to take alternate routes and forget that damn detour. Time is money, and I'm an independent trucker, and I've got to get to where I want because time is money, and I've got to make my money drop this load off or pick up the load and get the heck out of Dodge. And I'm not going to stay in this damn traffic. And that's basically the thought of the truck driver. And so they are going to take any route. They're going to go on MapQuest or whatever, and they're going to find alternate routes, and they're going to end up in our neighborhoods in San Pedro and up Channel and all that to do. And I just totally imagine that the whole Channel corridor over there is going to be a combobble of mess. It's going to be crazy. And I hope that they have patrols out there to keep it from getting that way.
Thank you. Vic?
I've already sent some editorial, commas and typos and things like that. That's what an editor does, to Ray. But I have a few things, well, maybe a couple things, that I'd like to propose as an amendment. And the first one is in the list on pages 2 and 3, the numbered list of the different other projects going on. For the ones that do not already have a duration, start date, end date, expected, that type of thing, that we add those dates in there to show how many things are going to overlap. It's good to have this list, but I think a greater impact would be to show how these are going to overlap with the bridge project. Some of them already have it, but not all of them. I don't know how readily available those dates are. If they aren't available in time, then okay. There is that one map that they put out. I don't know if that has any of these dates on it, but if it's not feasible, then that's fine. But if I'll qualify that with the what?
The ones that don't have dates are because the dates are not yet available.
Okay. And then the other main one is on, or maybe a couple. On item 27, the wording right now is on line going from 2 to 3. The messaging should start as early as 90 days prior. I would propose changing as early as to at least. If they want to go earlier than 90 days, let them. We're saying as early as, but if they want to go, earlier than that, then that shouldn't be a problem. A somewhat editorial, but also clarification on the next.
Vic, what was the one that you just said? What number?
Number 27
27.
on page, page 9. Page 9, second into third line messaging should commence at least 90 days prior is what I'm proposing. Another line down where it says announcements should occur in the southbound direction, but it doesn't identify the southbound direction of what. I assume that's the 405 freeway, so that just needs to be clarified.
No, the 47 for the bridge. This is 105, I think, or the 110.
The 105.
No, 105 is not a north-south, so it can't be that.
No, it's the 110
Well, 110 and 710.
So that would be the 710.
Well, both.
Yeah, it's a
So
710
it says southbound direction before the 105 freeway, but southbound direction of what?
It should be 110 and 710.
110, 710, yeah.
It's a 710.
No, it's the 110. That's the more important one coming into our community.
Yeah, south is us. North.
Number 27.
South is us from us.
But you have, okay,
It's 110.
So if we change that to say on the southbound 110 freeway before the 105 freeway interchange, then we know
And 710,
what we're
because you have to get off.
710 too? Okay.
You have to get off, you have to get off, or you would never come across.
Well, and then if people get as far as across the International Gateway Bridge, get to Terminal Island and realize that Vincent Thomas is closed, then you've just moved your problem to a different side.
I would also.
Well, whatever freeways we're talking about in the southbound direction need to be identified, I think.
it has to be the 110 and the 710.
Yeah.
I travel it every morning, and there's 100 truckers on
The
now
only one that
southbound on
interchanges the 105 is
I would
going
include
southbound
the
is the
60.
710.
I would include the 605 on that as well. That's farther than the 710, but it is a tremendous route for port traffic.
That's a good point.
Which one?
605.
110, 710, and 605 southbound.
Because when I pass it in the mornings, you're looking at the 710. There could be 5 cars and 20 trucks, and they can't keep going like we do to get on a Desmond, and then they're going to have to get off at Anaheim, Willow, and PCH.
Off on the
It's
710.
going to be so bad.
It's going to be bad.
Anything else for 27?
I have an item.
On 27?
27 or
On
different?
27?
I have 13, well, on 13, sorry.
On what number?
27.
Okay, are you through with your comments on 27?
On 27, yes.
What do you have for 27?
In regards to messaging,
Hang on a second, Diana. Go ahead, Gwen.
in regards to messaging, Caltrans, I spoke to an official recently. Caltrans contracts a company for those transportable signs that they put the messaging on. And we know how poor those signs are in messaging. They're often out of date. I suggest that we request that Caltrans, any contracted company that Caltrans utilizes for messaging, that they have a much more responsive change in the messaging, doing it daily, and keeping them as current as any of the generic messaging boards, the Fast Track, and the larger boards that are available in the area.
So if you want to amend that, is there any way you can shorten that down to put it in to make
It's
the
actually
point?
it's actually said in 28 that Caltrans work with Google Maps, Waze, and other apps to provide GPS information on GPS.
It's not a GPS. It's not a GPS. It is also messaging, road messaging.
It's the light, the square
Which is
light.
talking about that lit up
Yeah, no,
things.
they're never accurate when I use
That
them.
that any contracted company that Caltrans utilizes for messaging, that they,
Yeah,
I
and that's
will.
the important thing. Those suggestions that you're all making,
Write them down.
we need to have them written down, and I need to have them by tomorrow.
I will have them written and delivered to you right here. Do you need it in email form?
I would prefer it.
You've got mine except for the addition of the 710 and 605 in the
Make sure
edited
that-
document.
Make sure you.
You want me to resend it to you?
Yes. please.
Okay.
Diana.
Just on that too, when someone has mentioned the 405, I think you're right.
Diana, can you come up to the microphone, please?
It's hard to hear. And the 91.
I was just adding to that conversation on number 27 that someone did mention the 405, and thinking about it, you probably do want to include the 405. Probably want to make sure it's 405 sometime before they get to the Harbor Freeway off ramp. And when it's referencing the others, you want to say the off ramp
Yeah.
needs to be inserted in there.
I had suggested putting before the 105 interchange. Would that suffice for all the above?
I think interchange and off-ramp are pretty much...
The messaging starts at the 105 going southbound. That's the thing. Otherwise, they're going to do it usually the messaging with those small mobile message boards.
It's right at the
They
bridge.
start it right as you're approaching the bridge. And we don't want that. We want it way before that. That's the intent of that one particular one.
But we may want it far enough before the 105 that people can take the 105 and prepare to take the 105 before
That's why before
they
the
get-
105 is stated.
Yeah, I think, because
So 710.
And the use of the fast track and other messaging, electronic messaging boards that they have. That's the intent of this one.
I've made those routes as alternative routes, and the 91 should also be included in this, as well as, which is the parallel route to the 105, the 91.
Yes. Should.
Actually,
So what I think I'm hearing is
That's even
that
more
you're
important.
asking for
Yeah.
messaging before each one of these freeways that are going.
Intersect to the 110.
Absolutely.
It might be simpler to kind of specify like a radius, because, for instance, the 91, there's huge logistical centers in Compton that you may be getting on the freeway there, and you're not going to see what's on 605 or 105, so they're not going to know what's going on. They can go directly onto 110, at which point it's too late. So,
Right, especially
So
coming
maybe
off.
91 and 710.
I'm thinking that, and again, they're Caltrans, they should be experts at this, but maybe if we sort of, I'm looking at a map, we sort of draw a circle that's 5 miles, 7 miles from the port, and tell them that, like, all major interchanges, really,
Thomas Bridge is closed.
it should be that they're doing the research to know kind of what the demands will be, but if we have to point it out to them, then maybe that's better in this case, because a lot of that traffic originates and terminates within the circle we're talking about. So, I think every major freeway within, let's say, 7 miles of the port should probably have
Then
constant.
it should, because it should run, because like 91, you'll get off Santa Fe, you'll get off at Alameda, cars, these people are going to look for all these different.
Yeah, I think that,
What?
I will write that down.
Once again, 7 mile radius might not be sufficient. The 605, once again, is a corridor with many of the trucks coming from the port end up going east. They also go north.
Yeah, but if you have messaging or signage on 405, there's really no way to get. If you have it on 91 and 405 and 105, then that would automatically include 605. There's no way you can get from 605 down here without one of those three. And if those three have, if all the other feeders in, if they're going to cover the whole region, which they should, maybe that's not too much. But I'm just saying that if they do the other ones, then that would automatically be included.
I will tell you that the conversations at these meetings, they understand that messaging, as they have suggested informally, does not go as far north as the 105. It's been much closer, and they've emphasized the use of the smaller portable messaging boards that you could miss interlinked. So that's why this is saying to utilize the larger messaging board that they have on the freeway, including the fast track, because those are separate than the other ones, and do it as far north as, so it was more of a generic thing that they understood that they can't do it at the last minute. They have to be thoughtful about doing it way before we get to the harbor area. That's the crux of this particular item here. So, Kelly, you're up.
So I noticed here on number 13, it's talking about Alameda as a stated detour, so the work on Alameda must be complete.
Which number is that?
Number 13.
Okay, we're going back to 13.
Yeah, it must be complete before any work begins on the Vincent Thomas Bridge. I think we need to add Harry Bridges on there. I just happened to go on that road today for the first time in probably a year. And I'm sorry, that's a nightmare. And there's no lanes painted. There's no, I mean, if the regular people are going to be going on it, I'm not talking truck drivers, because they're fairly familiar with those routes because the trucks were just booming through there. But if anybody else is going to have to be detoured through there, that Harry Bridges needs to be repaired too, not just Alameda.
Well, Harry Bridges is
I believe that this identifies that there is major work that needs to be done on many access roads. So that is stated in this document.
I looked through it and didn't find Harry Bridges listed. I've only found the Alameda. I found that they were going to use Harry Bridges as a detour, but not any work being done on it.
Well, they told at the one meeting, they said they were going to do people that use Harry Bridges, but the city's going to repave it all. The truckers complained about Harry Bridges because then it turns into Alameda. So they're going to have to repave that whole thing. But then the people, DOT said, why don't you put yours on hold and let us finish the bridge? Then you can. So that's a quarrel between them.
Well, I understand Alameda because it needs to be marked. There's no lanes. But Harry Bridges was, like I said, I haven't driven on it in a year.
I hear what you're saying.
But if we're going to have all these people detouring on there, we're going to have accidents like crazy because it's not even, Harry Bridges turns to this one thing and all of a sudden you're on Alameda.
Can I help with this?
Please make sure that your comments are written.
Okay.
Can I help with her concerns real quick? Councilmember is demanding that all of the access roads that people are going to be taking as detours will be repaired before the detour starts and after the detour is over. So it'll be repaired twice. Okay. It'll be taken care of before. That's his big pressure is to get it and to have Caltrans pay for it. We fix it before, it's going to get chopped up again during the detour, and then we fix it again afterwards.
That's good.
That's solid.
Okay, I don't want to start going backwards because we've already gone to 27, so I'm hoping we're not going backwards again. I appreciate that.
I waited till everybody completed.
We're going to be here forever, and I don't think anyone wants to be here forever.
Can we go back to public comment?
Yeah, Chris.
And I'm about to email this to you and Vic, but just to crystallize the thing I was saying, and I looked at the map just to double check because Gwen was right, 7 miles is not enough. My quote or suggestion would be, long-term informational signage at all major freeway interchanges within 12 miles of the bridge, including 91, 105, 710, 405, et cetera. Because if you just sort of look at the circle, it's easier if they know that everything in there is going to be feeding. And if we just tell them a specific location, and if we just tell them like it's one of those little trailer signs, then we're not going to get anything.
Okay. Don't forget to email it.
Yeah, I'm going to send right now.
I've got one more.
Okay. Go ahead. And
I just had a quick question. Some very substantial questions are asked for a substantial reply. For example, why will it take so long? I am wondering, with the responses here, we may have more information given to us. Will we have the opportunity to have a dialogue about some of the responses on the more meaty questions that are being asked here?
They are responsible to give a response to every question that's being brought up and all comments that are being brought up during the EIR public comment period.
And then we will have an opportunity to speak on them?
And even at the end of this document, it asks that we have continued conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Keep the dialogue going.
And the fact that and the community the Community Advisory Committee will be in place, along with the Technical Advisory Committee, will be in place during the whole life of the bridge project.
To make adjustments as needed, which there will be. And this piqued my interest as well. Why would it take so long in that 10-foot day scenario? Sounded pretty good to me, and it's down to 62 days or something. Good.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'll be curious to see the response on that in particular.
We'll see, and then I think it allows us to be able to be more open or asking additional questions. Maybe not under the umbrella of the public comment period, but this is where we ask the questions, and this is where we get our answers, and then we pursue further. Will we answer your question?
Well, let Vic do his, and I have one more comment.
Kind of a
Well,
question.
Vic is next. Vic?
I'm going to 34. Not that anything...
Okay, what question do you have? Is it on 27 or?
It's a question regarding the
I thought we were
that
gone
was brought
with
up, the thing
27.
about the time period. It's a comment about it that Gwen brought up to add on to her comment.
Okay, what is it?
So, one of the things with a lot of government contracts and things like that, when they do them, they say, okay, you have 90 days to do this. But if you finish it before the 90 days, you get a bonus back. Are they doing that with this to not let them take the longest time possible to do this?
That has been addressed as one of the questions.
It's in the letter.
It's in the letter, yeah.
That's in there.
Yes.
Incentives and disincentives.
Maybe I missed it. I'm sorry.
Vic?
34 talks about, basically law enforcement and, enforcing traffic laws. Unless I missed it, I don't remember seeing anywhere in here where it talks about things like the fire department and first responders, ambulance-type vehicles, needing a way to get through traffic quickly while all this traffic is backed up, and how they're going to mitigate all the backup of traffic to allow that to happen, particularly when there's a fire department directly across from the Gaffey on-ramp to the bridge. So we may want to add, I don't have any suggested words right now, but we may want to add one item addressing that somehow. The first responders and emergency vehicles needing to be able to get through traffic while this is going on.
And I hear what you're saying. 34 only is making sure that Caltrans is partnering and having open conversations with all law enforcement agencies to make sure that when there are problems on any of these axes, that they utilize the full force of all law enforcement agencies to assist in making sure traffic gets through the best way it can, including the California Highway Patrol, which I guess tend to be out of the mix when it comes to surface streets.
Well, to reaffirm, and maybe with the language that Vic is suggesting, that there needs to be an auxiliary access point or access like a side. I see that cars will be stalled and those kind of things. If LAPD can help usher a emergency vehicle, an ambulance, how are ambulances going to get through? Is there some language that we can add to put in a dedicated lane or just a side thing, or consider this?
What I will suggest also, that many of these things that you all are asking for, there is absolutely no reason why you cannot, as a stakeholder, ask the question.
Oh,
you still have time to do it.
Oh, I'm definitely going to be doing that.
Then you better get on it and do it.
Yeah.
That's what that's going to be my message, because my big concern is that we still don't have a good number of community members actually understanding what it is that is concerning the community when it comes to this big project. And I don't have a whole lot of confidence that Caltrans is considering all the different aspects of what going to happen in our communities with this, this closure.
To put that, to bring this home, currently, I have a storage unit over in Lomita. And
What did you, okay,
wait,
I didn't
hold
understand what you just said. What?
to bring this home for a point, I currently have a storage space in Lomita. And the storage facility has a parking area. And what is happening recently is that trucks are parking in that parking area that's for the people who are renting spaces. And they are sitting there and they're sleeping and they're camping out there. This is now, they're trying to stay close. They've been kicked out of residences. We still have a problem with trucks not having a place. So consider what's going to happen when traffic becomes really bad and that truckers start considering, I may not be able to get through even in 2 hours in traffic. I'm going to camp out close by and ensure that I make that time of when I'm supposed to be at my destination. So this is, and there's nothing, the manager of this place is struggling with trying to address poaching of the parking lot by truckers.
Gwen,
just,
I'm really having a hard time making the connection between Lomita parking problems and this thing when we got to hone in on this.
I understand. It's just the truckers.
That's the unknown is the way the truckers are going to be finding themselves in and out. So I hear what you're saying. I appreciate the fact that you're trying to emphasize the thing, what's happening. So thank you for that. Is it a question on the document or?
No, it's procedural. So just FYI, I took Vic is the first for this amendment, and Gwen is the second, and then we'll deal with the rest of it later.
Okay.
Because you're amending, yes?
Yeah, I think.
There are suggested changes, and all I need is if I can get permission to add it without objection so that we can get this thing out. That's what I'm hoping we can get at this particular, when we're all through with the suggested. But again, it's going to be dependent on what I get back from all your suggestions, because I think it'd be unfair to rely just on everything that Cheryl puts down or how I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to say, Cheryl. Okay, so that's why I'm asking people to make sure they tell by tomorrow.
You will be CC'd.
So, Vic, you're next again?
That was all I had.
That was it? Okay. Anything else? Okay. Yes, Mr. Norman.
Yeah, just a quick statement of thanks to the primary authors of this. This is, well written, very comprehensive. And then for the record, would encourage if there's any governmental representatives from our state assembly or senate, I would love to hear from some of them and communicate the displeasure I have, and I think several of the local folks have, not only about the way this project was communicated, but then kind of the bombshell on Western and the lack of knowledge of the state agency about the projects going on is pretty disappointing. And I think that might be a meeting other members of the committee would like to hear, and hopefully we're getting help from those elected members of the Assembly and Senate. Thanks.
I think at the end you'll see that these are going to be routed to all our elected officials in the area. But just to your point about the Western project, when I brought it to their attention that there was a big surprise in the voice of the people who were conducting that Western project meeting, that there was an unknown about the Vincent Thomas Bridge project, they were very concerned that this was brought up. One of the head engineers for the Vincent Thomas Bridge project said, they are well aware that the project's going on. So they were kind of playing cleanup, but they also downplayed the fact that there would be any real effect on between the Western project and the Vincent Thomas Bridge project. And again, I've tried to impress upon them that is not the case. There is going to be major effects, especially since for those community members, this is how I brought it up to them, especially the fact that for a community of San Pedro, if there should be any type of disaster where the community needs to venture out of the area, the only streets we have are Gaffey and Western.
That's it.
So that has been emphasized to them.
No, I was aware of that.
Numerous times.
Thank you for doing that, Ray.
Okay, so I need your permission to get your input by the end of the day tomorrow so that we can somehow include, if not all of it, most of it. But I'm going to also emphasize that your comments be placed in a letter directly to them, and you have on this letter who it's going to and so on. It's real important that they hear it as many times as possible. So I'm going to ask that. So with your permission to do that, I'd like to be able to, with these friendly amendments, if you will, give us, take a vote on what we've heard and move on.
Yep. I already said vote. I call for the vote.
Are we going to make this one
and done?
One as an amendment and second amended, or just?
That's why I'm trying to call it friendly amendments, so that we can just corrections. Okay, that's a good idea. Corrections.
Okay.
So that we can get this thing out of. I'm going to tell you, there are some people who have been working weeks on this thing. I just want to let you know.
Can I move that the letter be sent, please?
Well, I think that's what the original moving and seconded is all about.
Okay, I'll second it.
And everything else.
It's already been.
Oh, I didn't.
So I think what we're doing is we're just ensuring the work of this council is always grammatically and typographically correct. So all those changes are just, grammatic. It's not substantive, so we can vote on it as it is.
Yeah. That's how we're phrasing it.
So let me put it out there. All your great suggestions, send them to me.
Done.
By end of the day tomorrow. And file your own before July 15th. Okay. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. And again, I can't tell you how important the names have been, issues, Vic. Am I missing somebody else or anyone else? But all of your comments, I'm really appreciating it because this is important, I'm telling you. Yes, Mr. Nave.
90% of this letter came from the Wilmington Neighborhood Council. They really deserve our thanks.
50%.
That's Gina and crew, yes? Yeah. The president.
Okay.
So with that, can we take a vote?
Okay, so we are voting on the letter tonight with corrections to be made by close of business tomorrow.
No, yeah, correction sent, and then I'll work on it on Thursday.
Okay.
Or
Correction sent by
Tuesday,
close of business tomorrow.
Wednesday, yeah.
Okay, John Barbera.
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. Larry Eaton.
Yes.
Gwen Henry.
Yes.
Melanie LeBrecq.
Yes.
Kelly Miller.
Yes.
Abby Norman. Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorelli. Adam Stevenson.
Yes.
Angela Sumner. Chris Valle.
Yes.
Okay, it is unanimous.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you all very much. Let's move on to agenda item number 5, homelessness liaison report. Lori. That's fine. Drew?
Thank you. Hi there. Great, robust discussion. Look at that. You're touching right upon my first item, which is the Vincent Thomas Bridge Deck Replacement Project. Public comment is due no later than July 15th.
Looks like you guys are on it. Thank you. The Front Street closure that was planned, they were going to close Front Street to remove the rail lines. It was going to be closed over 2 weekends in July. That was postponed, and we don't have a new date yet. On Saturday, July 13th, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Harbor Boulevard Promenade Park, which is at 2nd and Harbor, there will be a career and resource fair that we are hosting. There are a couple flyers, if you look on the table over there, and I've also emailed it to all the presidents, so it should be able to be distributed through your networks. Come and join us for a day filled with networking, job opportunities, and various community resources. It's an opportunity to link job seekers with leading employers in the region. We have all sorts of government agencies that will be there as well, including the Port, HACLA, the City of LA. Highly recommend if you're looking for a switch or you know somebody who's looking for employment to come on out. There will be job training programs, educational opportunities, financial assistance, health and wellness, and services. The pickleball courts here at Peck Park are still not yet completed. We're waiting on the completion of some of the ADA accessible areas. When it's complete, we will hold a ribbon cutting ceremony, and we'll let you guys know. And the final item, a legislative update. Last year, a council member co-authored a motion to reform the discipline system and increase accountability for police misconduct. I'm proud to announce that this past Tuesday, the City Council approved this initiative, which will appear on the November 2024 ballot. One of the primary goals of Measure C, a ballot initiative that allowed officers the option to choose an all-civilian disciplinary board of rights, was to enhance officer accountability. However, in practice, it did not achieve this objective. Building on these lessons, our new initiative seeks to reform and repeal Measure C. Most importantly, by passing this measure, voters will empower the Chief of Police with the authority to immediately terminate officers in the most egregious cases. So we will see that in November. Do you have any questions? That's all I have for you today.
Questions? Anyone?
On anything?
It does not appear. Drew, thank you so much for being here.
Sure thing, I know. You guys are treating me good today. Maybe you guys should have long discussions more often before I give my presentation.
Wait, Drew. Don't go anywhere. Wait. Are we doing Christmas in the park here again?
Oh, the Winter Wonderland?
Yeah.
We're not even talking about that yet in the office.
Okay.
But I will bring it up. Christmas in July, why not? I'll bring it up. And I'll let you know at the next
so we know,
meeting.
because then we can plan.
Yeah, I'll let you guys know.
It's budget season for
Usually
us.
isn't it at City Hall, but it was moved here because of construction down
No,
there?
we had our new Winter Wonderland at like 8 locations across the district. Them in Watts and 3 Harbor Gateway locations, here at Peck Park, also in Wilmington. So I'll find out if we're going to be doing them again.
Okay.
And I can even email you guys as soon as I get an answer.
Okay.
So you don't have to wait till next month. All right, thanks guys.
Thank you.
All right. So, Lori, and we haven't ignored our public safety representative here, so.
I guess the idea of snow right now sounds appealing, huh? Anyway, hello again. So the homelessness liaison report, a few big things happened in the last couple of weeks. Besides my report, if you follow the news, you probably know, and I think I briefly mentioned the Supreme Court ruling was going to happen, and it did, and it happened exactly the way it was predicted, in that they ruled in favor of the Grants Pass versus Johnson, which basically, to summarize, says it is not unconstitutional to arrest somebody for homelessness even if you do not offer them any form of shelter. So obviously there's extreme opinions on both sides on this. What I included in my report was a statement from Mayor Bass, who very much was against this, and a statement from Governor Newsom, who was in favor of this, just to try and give you somewhat of an unbiased overview of this. Mayor Bass and the county supervisors are taking a look at this. The key thing here, this is not saying cities can go and arrest people. They're saying they determined it's not unconstitutional to arrest them. What each city does with that ruling is up to them. So I did ask and found out that City Council put out a motion like a week ago. Yeah, hold on. Council File 24-0140-S1, where they're going to look at what the impact of this ruling could have in the city of Los Angeles.
What's the
specifically, I can never say that word, 4118. So they're going to look at how this may affect that. I'm not going to give you my opinion. Most of you who know me will probably know about this, what my opinion is. The point is we need to understand how it will affect us and also our neighboring cities, because depending on what they do, it can have long-term effects on the city of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So I tried to give you a very simple overview. There's been a lot of chatter on social media and a lot in the news. So does anybody have any questions on that? Oh, yes. Ray, did you want to call
What
on people?
was the council file again?
It's 24-0140-S1.
S5?
S1.
Oh, S1.
Uno. Yeah. It was filed on June 28th, and it was filed by 6 of the city council members together.
Okay. Can you repeat that number again?
24-0140-S1.
Thank you.
Have there been any reactions or indications from mayors in smaller cities, Long Beach, Torrance, or anything like that?
Yeah, the mayor in Long Beach is very much in favor of this. I think it's Mayor Rex Richardson. Yes, he's in favor of it. People who are in favor of this are not necessarily in favor of arresting everybody. Their concerns are sanitation and safety. Okay.
So it gives them leverage, and they don't necessarily have to follow through.
You know, like I say, a lot of these issues are just not black and white. There's a lot of gray area, how you can interpret it. I have concerns. I've always had concerns about safety, but I will say this, that arresting somebody for homelessness without offering them any form of shelter, and if that's their only crime, it's really not solving anything.
Well, it would also seem to...
but what do we do?
Well, it would also seem to exacerbate the issues of police staffing and jail population, and it would kind of make those other problems worse and not really get rid of homelessness either. So.
I would like to see us do something like they're doing in Redondo Beach with the homeless court, because there any type of misdemeanor goes to this homeless court, and somebody experiencing homelessness has an opportunity. They say, look, depending on what their situation is, you do community service, you go to rehab, you go to this mental health program, you show some consistency, and they'll wipe out all the fine. Finding somebody who has no money is like, what's the point there? It also affects this person ever getting on the path of getting a job and getting housed, because now you've created this history for this person that will be a total barrier to any type of housing and jobs. So I don't know why we don't see more of this homeless court type of program.
Has there been some concern of, with each city reinterpreting this as they see fit, and the differences in how they handle homelessness? That individuals may be discouraged from an area and go to another area which they find is more... I'm just wondering that there will be a concentration of homeless people migrating to another area and other areas. And what it effectively does is it creates cities that don't really handle their own problem. They've just effectively shoved their problem to other cities.
Bingo is what I say to that. So there's been a lot of chatter, and some people saying, well, if Mayor, again, this is talk out there that if Mayor Bass is soft on this, because she's still pushing on getting people housing, getting the services that they need, that people in cities where they're tougher to what you're saying will say, well, maybe I better go over where they might be more helpful to me. This is all speculation, and I'm always hesitant to share, everybody's got their keyboard warrior topics of how they, but yes, people are saying that. I say, let's just wait and see. For us, for the city of Los Angeles, I know I've been reading, I used to work for the South Bay City Council of Governments for 15 South Bay cities on homelessness. I think they're all talking to each other. So I'm going to reach out to my former boss and see, are they trying to collaborate and have a consistent policy so we don't have things like that? Honestly, what you're talking about, Gwen, is just like 4118. You're just moving the problem. So how can we work better together to get collaborative solutions?
And I think, too, on that point, as Circle gets better, I still feel that somehow we need a way to contact them directly rather than going through that 877, and we've had that conversation. I was able to get somebody housing here a couple weeks ago because they asked for help. They were in the park sleeping, and we do our random, walk through the park. Hey, you can't be here. The park's closed. This isn't where you can sleep tonight. Sorry. And he's like, where can I sleep then? It's like, oh, God, he's asking for help, and he really wanted to go to a shelter. He wanted help. And then there's what do you do? There's no one to call. And so I contacted Lori. She told me, the only thing you can do is call the Circle. And I did. They did. I found out the next day that they did come, and he took shelter. And I was like, my husband gave me money to go get coffee at 7-Eleven and go there and wait for someone to come. And he promised that somebody would come to help him. And they did.
You'd be surprised, Melanie, that happens more than you realize. But what gets publicity are the ones that are supposedly refusing services for a variety of reasons. It's really nice to focus on the success stories and how good it feels for that to happen.
It does.
Remember, the Circle team right now is a pilot program down here. It's only in San Pedro, Wilmington, Harbor City, and part, I believe, of Harbor Gateway South. And also in Venice, and I think part of West Hollywood or somewhere. So that's not everywhere. We're fortunate to have that. And the more success we can have with that, hopefully they'll expand that program. So this I just wanted to share with you guys, because this is big news. This is nationwide. And this overturns the Boise ordinance or ruling, which happened, I want to say 7 years ago. It's a whole nother way of looking at how do we work on homelessness. Bottom line, we just keep trying to house people, find housing, get them the help they need, and prevent future homelessness. The other part of my report, at the same time that this happened, the homeless count numbers came out. That was fun. There's a lot of ways you can interpret the homeless count numbers. In my report, I have links so you can go to the LASA website. They do have the raw data, and I put, it's kind of hard to read on here, but I put the chart for CD15 because, as stated, they're not going to drill down deeper than that. I do have the wrong numbers for San Pedro and was told I signed a non-disclosure. I cannot release that. I had it in here, and I just said, oh. Not that I report to anybody, but I do. So as a commissioner, I can't go against what I'm being told to do. But it doesn't really matter to me. Homelessness has no borders. This gives you a good overview of at least CD15. Some people are puzzled by the numbers. Some say, oh, look, it's success. Other people say it's not. I put it in big, bold writing that right now a stat they put out, and I don't know how accurate it is, that for every 100 people exiting homelessness, 120 are becoming homeless. Years ago, they had said for every 200 exiting, 220. These are just numbers. How they gather them, out of context, they can, whatever. The point is a lot of people are getting off the streets and getting help that they need, but people are becoming homeless at a faster rate, and we need to keep working on that.
So, Mayor Bass was reporting in her homeless report, when she gave it, that homeless numbers are down. But when you look at CD15, our homeless numbers went up. So that's a little concerning. If she's overall saying that homeless numbers are down.
We're down.
Are we down? Because I don't have my glasses. So
the first column is 2024. The second column is 2023. So As far
Oh,
as
okay.
actual people, it was down 120, and dwellings, cars, vans, tents, RVs, was down 266. But again,
Okay, my bad.
and these are the raw numbers. And do you remember last month I was telling you about the multiplier? Now, they made a statement during one of those sessions that the multiplier was 1.7. And I'm like, well, but the multiplier is usually is different in each service planning area, and it's different for a car than it is for an RV. So they gave you some average number. It has no meaning as far as I'm concerned. Okay,
Yeah.
so keep in mind these numbers are raw numbers, meaning the number of cars, tents. So there's more people than what's showing here when they're talking about dwellings.
Right, so when we were counting, you were telling us if we saw an RV, we had to count 6 people.
No, we
whatever.
didn't. No, we told you just the opposite. We said just count the RV or the van unless the people were outside of the vehicle
Then
and
we
you
could
could
see
count
how
them.
many.
You counted
Right.
one or the other, but not both.
Right.
All right, Ray, there's a bunch of hands. Am I supposed to call in? You call in?
Okay.
I
is it just
definitely
Vic?
wasn't. I don't think I was first.
I know, Chris. Okay. So you don't think you were first?
I don't think so.
I'm the first then. I thank you.
I understand what the non-disclosure part of non-disclosure agreement means, but this is if this is data that was generated on the public dime. It's public property, and so we should, in theory, have access to it. Do you know of, and this is probably not going to violate your agreement, do you know of an avenue or route through which, or a source through which an individual person or a government body could request those numbers that exist but are not yours to give away?
Let me talk with Tim.
If we just knew who to
Let me
ask.
talk with Amber at LASA. I have such mixed emotions because, believe me, I want to share this with you. But how is that going to make a difference
Well,
to
and
you?
I think,
really,
to your other point, that it's probably just out of interest, but it's sort of interesting that they thought it was important enough that they told you not to tell anybody.
They did because they still, I don't understand their reasoning, that if you drill down, you lose some validity in the reporting. Remember, this is a guesstimate. You know, the people who did the count, they know. Okay? Yeah, I think somebody's living there in that car. I think I see a body over there. It's not accurate. It's one night. My daughter asked me a really interesting question. She goes, Mom, why do they count it in winter when it's so much colder and people will find more places to hide? And I looked into it, and the answer, I don't know if anybody knows, was actually had to do with funding. Because of when the fiscal year ends, and they need so much time to put the data together. And I'm like, I'm just baffled. Obviously, in the warmer weather, you would see more people.
And the days are longer.
So, again, it's just one more thing that makes me go, huh? Gwen, did you have your question?
I did. So, okay. Speaking of homelessness. So, somebody said something rather incendiary and was using misinformation regarding veterans who happen to be homeless. And I do know that veterans get a lot more funding. The families of veterans get a lot more funding. There's federal funds that were released in 2020, and the numbers keep going way down for veterans who happen to be homeless. And, you know, this big, bold thing about 100 people who are removed, there are 120 that are now homeless. The data seems to be year after year in the last 4 years or so that for veterans, because of this funding, they are able to scoop up people before they end up homeless, give them the funding. And I'm wondering if there is a separate data in Los Angeles, because Los Angeles is the biggest group of veterans who happen to be homeless, if those numbers reflect less, and if those programs could be then utilized.
Very good observation. I believe there is data on veterans. At the time, LASA only, I haven't checked this week, but they only were posting the raw data as quickly as they could. As they keep going through things, they'll update. And on the site, you can see the numbers by city council district, supervisory district, various categories. I believe they do veterans. They have a lot more preventive things going on for veterans. I don't understand how a veteran's homeless in the first place, except lack of communication, or I don't understand it. So, but I do believe the prevention is better for veterans. Right now, still the fastest growing demographic is seniors and families. And with the no moratorium on evictions, families are really, really hurting, and the resources for families are a lot more difficult to find an apartment than it is for singles.
And that was the point of the federal funding for veterans, that they were targeting those families who are about to become homeless. For a veteran whose extended family is about to lose their home. So the funding actually has apparently seen tremendous success.
Well, we have.
And I'm wondering if.
Look in San Pedro at the hotel at First and Gaffey. That is just for veterans. You want me to wrap it up?
Yeah, we're going to need to.
I knew there would be a lot of questions on this, and I tried to be as prepared as I could for you guys. The only other things, and like I said, I put links in here, and you can always reach out to me. I'm learning along with you as they're having more meetings. The mayor is very committed to prevention on all counts, not just veterans. Okay, if we don't do prevention, then we're chasing our tail. I just had a little blurb on here. I was fortunate enough as a commissioner to hear Father Boyle, who started Homeboy. Talk about inspirational. I put some information here. Just amazing stuff. And the mayor's having a quarterly inspirational speaker series. I put information that Empower LA posted about what the role of homelessness liaison is. So if there's other stuff you want me to do, I did talk to outreach, and I just haven't got to. I'm going to look at the cost of us putting together or purchasing things to make our own hygiene kits, and us get together, put the kits and donate, and I'll submit that through budget and finance. So we could do that. And then I just urge outreach every time you do an event, include donation of socks, warm coats, something that people could use will be great. I have more information in here about, I've talked before about the master leasing program, so the innovative strategies to increase housing through their acquisition strategies, so that you could learn what's being done if you have an interest on how they're trying to get more housing. I have a flyer here on AB 1482, which was signed in back in January 2020, but people still don't know what the rules are on rent increases. I just recently moved into an apartment, and they have it posted on the wall on the building what my rights are as a renter. I have a flyer here on the source of income and Section 8 protection, if anybody has any questions on that. And then discrimination, fair housing discrimination, which unfortunately still occurs out there. And I know LASAS and other groups are trying to work on equity, but just some good help information. So that is the Scoopy Doopy, guys. So sorry, Ray, I knew it because of those two big issues. And I'll continue to follow it as best I can. Just if you have questions, just email me.
Thank you for all your work again, Lori.
Thank you,
Appreciate it. Okay, I believe that's it for Homelessness Liaison Report. We're going to go finish up our agenda item number 6, which is elected governmental and public safety representatives. So if we can have our great
And very patient.
senior lead officer come up and enlighten us.
How is everybody doing? Senior Lead Officer Baloney. Okie dokie. So again, we're doing the new system, so it's just straight numbers. Excuse me. The month of June, there was 1 rape, 2 robberies, 7 burglaries, 15 GTAs, which are the stealing of vehicles basically, 7 burglary theft from vehicles, in which they go into your vehicle and take items. Thefts, we had 14, a total of 54 crimes. To break it down a little bit more, two of the robberies, two of the incidents was 4 victims, so it might read a little bit higher. So, or excuse me, we had 2 robberies, but it was 4 victims. So one was an estes, which means like pushed by force, so not like by gunpoint or anything. The aggravated assaults, there were 8 incidents in which it included 10 total victims. Burglaries, it was 2 non-residentials and 5 residentials. Let's see here. For GTAs, the high make that was taken was the Kias, which was 6 of them. The burglary theft from motor vehicles, out of the 7, 4 were unlocked and unsecured vehicles. Items that were taken were like cell phones and electronics. And with the theft, although it was 15, one location was hit 4 times, which appears to be like shoplifting. So it must have been a retail store. In other news, I know that in regards to the retail theft, again, our vice unit, Officer Ike, the quality of life car, has been doing a lot of work with that. The other day, I think it was someday in the end of June, they did an operation at the Target over there off of Gaffey and Capitol. 6 arrests at that location for that time frame that they were there. Again, they go throughout the entire division, but still, they were able to make an appearance over here at the Target and make arrests. Again, the quality of life card, they've just been doing what they've been doing every single day, getting an arrest of someone with a warrant, narcotic activity, etc. And obviously the big one, fireworks. So for everybody that's been reporting fireworks, etc., thank you. I think this year our vice unit has been doing a lot of arrests. So like they've been working online, getting with sellers of the illegal fireworks, and that they've actually been meeting them at locations and doing like an operation to arrest them. And they've been making multiple arrests for them. Just keep that in mind that obviously these are smaller arrests with like maybe just a couple of things of fireworks. But then when you read in the news, the bigger arrests, like the thousands of pounds that have been seized, and then maybe even the tons, I think it was like 70 tons in Gardena or Torrance or something, that was seized. It's these little arrests that eventually end up being to the big ones. A lot of work goes into it, but I understand, trust me. It was still hectic on the 4th of July, so I do apologize. But we're doing what we can. So.
Okay. I see one hand up, so let's go with Melanie.
Okay, a couple of things. The first thing is the item that I discussed with you before you left. You said you weren't going to be there the weekend, the gang member get-together in the park. I'm a little disappointed because it seems like nobody ever showed up. No park rangers, as Deanne Dedman said there would be. None did. No LAPD presence, nothing. They did show. It didn't look like they had alcohol, so maybe somebody told them, you better not have the alcohol or something. I couldn't tell because they had the big mixer things that is the Mexican drink like the that they sell at some of the Hispanic restaurants that is like, I'm not sure what the name of it is. It's like horchata, yeah. It looked like those type of containers. They were selling T-shirts, and it was a very big presence there at the park. They were mellow. They did leave by 6 p.m., so that's a plus. I was just a little concerned when we put something out there like that it's going to be a problem, that it's not fair to, like, the neighborhood watch and people to gaslight them and say that you're going to do something and that people like Deanne Dedman for the park rangers are going to be there, and then nobody shows. It's not okay. The other thing is that there's a woman that I keep calling Circle about that's sleeping in Target at night. They've already been there and talked to her, but she's got small children and then a teenage child. She's got 2 cats and a dog. The cats wander around in the parking lot. There's a dog that wanders around. And at night, she's there late at night, and they're staying pretty much every night there in Target parking lot. when I've contacted Circle, what they're doing is they lost contact with her a couple times, and what they're doing is calling me back and thinking I'm the homeless woman. And asking me where I'm at. And I'm like, I'm the person that's reporting this. I am not the person that you should be contacting. So.
Well, to your first topic, yes. So I was off that weekend, but I still contacted the gang unit due to the picture, and you don't want it to get out of control. But I'm not, their supervisor was also advised. I was told I can't order officers to do anything, but I at least put it out there for them. It is possible that maybe they did do extra patrol. There wasn't enough for them to really get out and do anything.
Yeah.
Because it's still a public park, etc. I wish that Parks and Recs would, or Recs and Parks would step it up and be able to hold down their fort, but it is what it is, right? So, we're doing what we can. It's just, unfortunately, based on what you're saying, I wasn't there. It's possible that there was a drive-by and there wasn't enough for them to go and do anything and enforce and stuff like that. Because as an officer, they have to really weigh what they're going to do, and they have to have some concrete stuff if they're going to interact with the public like that. The second issue with the lady in the van and the family. So I drove by there that one day. I was not able to find them. If they're there at nighttime, I would assume that Circle, they're here 24/7, that they would be able to locate them, and especially if they're there on a regular basis. I'll definitely do my best. If you don't mind, you can send me a picture of it, and I'll submit a request to them. And then if you just give me the dates and times that they're usually there, I'll submit a request as well.
Yeah, they're there like after 11 at night.
Okay.
After Target closes.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Yeah, give me the info, and I'll talk to Circle.
Adam?
I just need clarity. How do we know that they're gang members?
Because they had a flyer all over Facebook, and it's the person that was killed that they were fundraising for is a known Rancho SP gang member that was shot on First and Palos Verdes in a gang shooting.
Okay, so it was a fundraiser for gang members.
Huh?
It was a
fundraiser for them, yes.
Okay.
For the burial.
Any other questions, comments? No? Audience? No? Okay. Senior Lead Officer Maloney, thank you so much for being here tonight.
No, of course,
Really
of course. You guys are all
appreciate it.
wonderful. I hope you guys have a good night.
How's the baby?
Oh, beautiful. She's starting to smile back at you, so it's really nice. I hope she's smiling at you.
It's on camera.
Thank you.
Yeah, before
Thank you.
said they were gang members, I wouldn't say so unless I checked it.
So that takes care of, I think we have no other electeds. Okay, so that takes care of agenda item number 6. We're going to move on to number 7, consent calendar. We have 4 items on consent calendar. That is the meeting minutes of June 10th. Also going to approve the addition of Adrian Fernandez to the Community Issues Committee. Also acknowledge the resignation of Leila Aguilera from Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council, including the committees. And finally, approve the letter of the city planning requesting that they move one San Pedro specific plan forward. This is out of planning and land use. So if I don't hear anything to be removed from this list, can I get a motion and a second?
I so move.
Second, Norman.
Okay. Who?
Thomas, second.
Thomas, second? Okay. So any discussion? No discussion? Okay. Let's go ahead and take the vote.
Okay, John Barbera.
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. Larry Eaton.
Yes.
Gwen Henry.
Yes.
Melanie LeBrecq.
Yes.
Kelly Moore.
Yes.
Abby Norman. Thomas Norman.
Yes.
Ray Regalado.
Yes.
Michael Signorella.
Yes.
Adam Stevenson.
Yes.
Angela Sumner.
Yes.
Chris Fay.
Yes.
Okay, 13 ayes.
All right. Moving on to agenda item number 8. These are the various motions. We have our motions from Budget and Finance, and then we have another coming out of Youth and Outreach. So, with that, Budget and Finance.
Yep.
Melanie.
Okay, page 26. So remember, we're always behind a month, so this is for June. So for June, we have $7,531 and let's see, 53 cents left over. So that's going to be our rollover money that we get to roll over at the top there. So everything's been paid, everything's taken care of, and so this not out of committee, so I need a motion and a second.
Go ahead. I'll move it.
I'll second it.
John, Thomas. Okay. Already, any discussion? Okay, Thomas,
Yes.
John Barbera,
Yes.
Victor,
Aye.
Ray.
Yes.
Oh, also I'll add, because Larry, Angela, and Adam Stevenson, you didn't do your training that needs to be done, so you're all ineligible.
Wait, which training are we specifically talking about?
The able and the gender identity, and your code of conduct.
Okay, we have discussed that we're going to give it an extension because there's some.
Not for financial. There's no.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. Never mind.
There's no exemption for financial.
When did you do it?
Voting.
And did you?
But you didn't do the able
Yeah.
training. There's gender identity, and then there's able training. There's two.
Mine is complete.
And you didn't do code of conduct or no, or you didn't do the gender identity.
You do the gender and the able? Because the able shows up as being done today, but not the gender expression.
I can show you both, but they're both done. They're both done.
Do you have it?
Do you have the certificates? No, Adam is good.
Adam's good? Okay.
So just let me say that when you complete and you get your certificate, send it in just so that we can do it.
Especially when it's within a week of
I told
the
you
meeting.
not to. It said that it would show up now. Not to send it.
Oh, well,
You
don't
don't-
believe
I'm
him.
just telling you what it said on the end.
Yeah, I
Don't
know.
believe him. It took 2 months for my training to show up.
Yeah,
I
so
know
just
it
send in
did
your
last time.
certificates. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. So, Adam, what's your vote? Yes? Okay. Gwen? Where is she?
She's out of the room.
Out. Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Yes.
And Chris Vallier?
Yes.
And Michael? What? Thomas was yes. Ray was yes. Okay. So next item is the budget. Huh? Yeah. And the only ineligible was Larry, Angela, and Abby.
No, Adam is eligible.
Huh? What?
She said Abby.
Oh, you said Abby?
Abby.
I retract
No,
my...
Abby. Because she... Alrighty. Now the budget. Budget's on page 28. So, and as you see, we got the amount over there the same as the MER. And so this is out of committee. So any discussion on this? Call for the vote. Thomas?
Aye.
John Barbera?
Aye.
Victor?
Aye.
Ray?
Yes.
Gwen?
I'm going to abstain.
Abstain? Okay. Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Yes.
And Christian?
Yes.
Yes. And Michael? Yes. Okay. Next is this. Okay, we have an invoice, we have a flyer,
Just want to make sure.
and we have a sponsorship list. This is Day of Peace event that's come out of Outreach. They came and presented at Outreach. Outreach is requesting $2,500 to sponsor this event in September. This is at a committee. We have the money for it because we have a $7,500 rollover. So any discussion on this?
Chris?
Well, the long and short of it is this is going to be an event on essentially an international scale. It's going to be live streamed essentially wherever there is internet access. There will be attendance from elected officials all the way from San Pedro to Sacramento. It's going to be a big deal, one of the biggest deals that is specific to San Pedro, at least in my history on the board. And so on Youth and Outreach, we're looking at this as an opportunity to not only participate in a very high-profile event, which is about, at its core, a lot of the things that the Neighborhood Council is here to achieve, which is in terms of community unity, for want of a better term, environmental stewardship, et cetera. And we're also thinking of it as an opportunity to sort of raise the profile, relaunch the Youth and Outreach and Committee and the board as a whole, since this will have more eyes on it than any of the events that we are either partner in or put on ourselves are going to have. So this is specifically on the money. Essentially, we're thinking about a larger financial contribution than usual because this is a much larger event than usual. And then on some of the other items, we'll talk a little bit more about the details of that.
Gwen?
Are we discussing the portion about our own promotional items during this?
Just the money for the sponsorship.
Just the money for the sponsorship? Well, with this, I'm hoping that Youth and Outreach will also be very active in encouraging all of our members to participate, and perhaps we should also have our own participatory dove or something of that nature with this. But I'm hoping that we will, as a body, be present for this event.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that in the Youth and Outreach report, but...
Yeah, I think this is a type of event that the whole board should participate in, and I encourage everybody, once we have the nitty-gritty down, that they do. The one thing, advice that Budget and Finance, so when we discussed it, was that this is a big event. This is a big deal for our neighborhood council to be involved in. But going forward, as we do things, because the unallocated funds are for the whole board. They aren't just for Outreach Committee. They're for the whole board. Whatever's unallocated down there is for the whole board to use, for any other committee to use too. So going forward, we need to be very cognizant about how we spend our money going forward for the rest of the year, and just be thoughtful. And that's what we discussed in Budget and Finance about it. Lori?
Further to what Chris's comments were, the idea here is to partner with the Roots and Shoots program, which is sponsoring this event. And Roots and Shoots is all about having, empowering people, specifically youth, to do 3 service projects, one related to humans, one related to animals, and one related to environment. We've already talked about and brainstormed, and Gwen, this is for you, okay, about for animals is to look at the budget and push for more shelters and better conditions in the shelters as an advocating and looking at the legislation you were talking about during public comment, and environmental possibly pushing for more shade trees, okay? Both of these I think most people are in agreement with, and this could be a launch of a campaign for these type of topics which we would carry on every time we have an opportunity to be at an event. It wouldn't be a one-off. This would be a continuous campaign, and this would be the perfect place to launch it when there's going to be about 5,000 or 6,000 people who are like-minded to these issues. I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
John, you have something to say?
Yeah, well, she said what I wanted to say in some words, but I'm going to send an email out to everybody. Those that want to join, sign it, please, and send it back to me so I can make the list and figure out the hours.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be great if a lot of you would come and you know, start participating in stuff that we do. It's always the same few people, and you know, not that we mind that we do it, but the rest of you are here, and it would be nice to everybody join us, you know, because we're a council.
Yeah.
We're 17 people.
Yeah.
4 people going to every show every time is just, I'm sorry, I wanted to say that before, and it just doesn't cut it, you know. I mean, we talk about how we want to go and meet the stakeholders and do things, and, well, there's a table, join us, we're out there, hey, we love it. Thank you.
And I would like to remind, this is just about the allocation of the funds. I did want to have this conversation, this discussion during the Youth and Outreach report, which is where we're going to talk about the participation aspect.
So, any more?
I
Gwen?
did. Okay, once again with budget and advocacy.
I'm sorry, is this about the allocation of the funds?
I wanted to talk to Melanie about the budget side. Regarding the amount of money that we have for events and things like that, we do have an election coming up. After the election...
I'm sorry, it's not specific to this agenda item.
It's to this...
I am bringing it back to this specific agenda item.
When?
Right now.
Okay.
So I'm just asking, does it look like we have enough for the neighborhood purpose grants? Are those going to be cut down? Do we have a possibility of doing possibly town halls should there be an event that occurs that...
That's exactly what I was talking about. That we have to be cognizant about those things going forward, because that money is what funds all of those different things. So we have to be cognizant how our board spends our money and be thoughtful about what the board as a whole really wants to do. So,
I mean, we have the money out there already taken out for all the events we wanted to do and stuff that we do throughout the year. Movie in the park, all the Christmas stuff, and all of that. But
we don't have movie in the park. We just have Candy Cane Lane and the parade.
And the parade and the tree lighting if they do it. But what we do have is this is very important. That's why we wanted to do this, because there's going to be tons of people there, even actors, actresses. There's going to be a lot of people there.
Well, that's not my... I personally believe that this is a worthy event. What I'm asking is that after all this other allocation, movies and all the other stuff that's being earmarked, is there going to be enough for public safety? Should there be a town hall because there's a situation? Or can there be something for sustainability, environment, and port because there's a port issue that comes up and there needs to be a discussion?
Well, in budget we might not do grants just to hang on to money this time.
It's up to the board, though. It's not up to us.
Yes,
It's going to come back to the board for a vote at another time in a discussion. But anyway, but the point of the matter right now is we need to redirect. It's to approving this $2,500 or amending it or whatever we're going to do with this. So it's out of committee, and the motion is for $2,500 to sponsor the Day of Peace event. So I want to call for the vote on it if there's no amendment. Okay? So, Thomas?
Aye.
John?
Yes.
Victor?
Aye.
Ray?
Yes.
Gwen?
Yeah.
Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
And Michael?
Adam?
Oh, and Adam. I'm sorry. Adam.
Yes.
Very good. Next. The next motion is to allocate, and the reason I say allocate, we have to allocate the money for $500 for the, how does it word here? $500 for DSB piece, expenses and supplies. This will be stuff for the table and all that they need. So this is only allocated because until we have a budget to come back to the board, we cannot approve this for use because we just can't random give $500 without knowing what it's going to be spent on. So this is out of committee to allocate.
Chris? Yeah, and so the idea is that and the next item on the agenda will address this. We're proposing the formation of an ad hoc committee specifically for this event that will give youth and outreach advice and input on which materials, if any, are needed. And then this is a $500 not to exceed allocation that, depending on what the recommendations are from the ad hoc committee, if formed, then we can use to formulate a request that'll come back in the next fiscal year.
So, any further discussion? Gwen?
I would urge the ad hoc committee to ensure that any promotional items be very ecologically minded. No plastics, no throwaway items with lots of packaging and the rest of it, that we consider other options with that. And maybe even collaborate with people like Alan Franz would know the PLC, which would have sprouts and plants, giveaways of seedlings, which we might be able to grow.
Can that be part of the ad hoc conversation at this particular point?
Sure,
Yeah.
but be cognizant of those.
I'm sorry?
Be cognizant. This is the part that I'm more concerned about, is the promotional items and the funding on the promotional.
Well, yeah, and those have even.
And that, I think that's
And it will
very
come back.
much
This is just saying, okay, this money is earmarked.
excuse me. That would be very appropriate during the time when the ad hoc committee is formulated, so that your input. And I'd like to say, if you're going to have special requests or like to contribute to the conversation at the ad hoc committee, attend. So, it's not a one-off that you say, and then, hopefully it'll go along with what you feel is important. So I'll leave it at that. We'll have that conversation in our next thing.
Any more conversation? Questions? Okay. So Thomas?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Vic?
Aye.
Ray?
Yes.
Gwen? Yes. Melanie? Yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay. All
more.
done.
Adam?
And Adam, sorry. I keep...
Okay. That's the end of item 8A, Budget and Finance. We're going to move on to 8B, Youth and Outreach. Chris, John, who would like to take that?
All right, so as alluded to earlier, in the most recent Youth and Outreach Committee meeting, it was suggested that although this event, the Day of Peace, is in September, it's in terms of our calendar, it's really only, a couple of jumps ahead in terms of our timetable. So we thought that an ad hoc committee would be appropriate so that we could, or whoever's on the committee, could meet more often and move a little bit more quickly than the Youth and Outreach could by itself. And it would also be an opportunity, which we're going to wrap in both for this and then in the Youth and Outreach report, a request for representation and contribution from every standing committee on the board, that we're trying to, not only to be because of the scale and the significance of this particular event, but to sort of kickstart what we're hoping is a new era of participation and overall activity on the board, that, issues, public safety or whatever, since we're asking for, and I'm going to lean into and say expecting participation from the entire board, the ad hoc would be a good place to start with that representation, since again, we'll have faster operational tempo. Essentially, you don't have to wait a month to continue a conversation. So that is the philosophy behind the request for the creation of the committee.
Any other comments?
Just
Okay,
one.
Melanie?
Chris, just remember that ad hoc committees can't make motions, so it would have to come back to outreach.
Yeah,
and then you guys would need to submit the budget.
And in our discussion in Youth and Outreach, we basically outlined that Youth and Outreach, or that the ad hoc committee would make suggestions in terms of materials or whatever that Youth and Outreach could then funnel back into any sort of formal motions we
Cool.
make.
Gwen, now is a good time for you to maybe continue your conversation of your concerns about what would be appropriate, if you like.
I believe that I've already stated.
Okay. All right. So with that said, the president has the authority to be able to form the ad hoc, and so I have gotten feedback as to who would like to be part of that ad hoc. So I will be approving the formation of the ad hoc committee with Lori taking the lead on it, along with Abby Norman, sorry about that. John Barbera, Alan Franz, and Angela. So with that said, Kelly?
I was going to be on the ad hoc too.
You want to be on the ad hoc?
I'm going to be working with people to make the peace steps.
Okay. Are you going to look up something?
Yes.
Make it quick. We're running out of time.
It can only be so many board members.
Oh, we really are.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4.
How many were on there again?
Four board members.
Who were they?
And 3 committee members.
Right, but and there's the issue. An ad hoc committee can only be board members, unless if you want to. Okay, if it is not only board members that constitute less than a majority of the board quorum, which 4 is, then it's going to have to be Brown Active meetings.
You can call it a working group, and then you don't have to have Brown Act.
Or is it a problem to be Brown Active?
You could call it a working group.
I mean, I'm just stating the rules.
No, I appreciate that. And in fact, I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to ask that so that we can, with everyone's permission, call it a working group if there is a problem with making it Brown Active. Personally, I don't see it, but
Well, also, with Lori Hednett, it has to be a board member. It can't be a board member chairing it.
Okay, then
or
I
an ad hoc committee.
would
so
like
it'd have to be a working group.
So if we wanted to amend our motion from Youth and Outreach, would I be amending to create a working group instead of ad hoc, and do we need to get a motion and a second for that, for the amendment? Okay, so
I moved.
Who said that?
Gwen
moved.
I second it.
So we have a motion from Gwen Henry to amend the request to a working group from an ad hoc, and that was seconded by Melanie Lebrecq. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, I'm going to call the vote, I guess. Right? Or can we do it by ascension? If there are there any objections to the amendment as stated? Hearing none. So
who will meet and then determine who your chair is going to be, so we can just make it go that route. Okay. So anyway, with that, we've identified the members, and make sure you meet often and meet with a lot of stuff coming out, so that we can have a really great presence. I really don't understand or don't know who is going to be going out there from our other neighborhood council colleagues from the other area. So, okay, so Central seems to be way already enthusiastically volunteering. Thank you. So that's great.
And a point of clarification, it being a working group, does that mean essentially that there's no limitation on how it's constituted?
I don't believe that there is.
Okay, so that we could invite, for instance, people from... Okay.
We have nothing in our bylaws about working groups, so I would say other than the caution about having no more than 4 because of the quorum type things,
which is why I
should be fine.
Right.
Okay.
So, all right. There'll be an expectation, though, that the working group will have a report back as we meet leading up to it, so that there is an understanding.
And so can we call the question on the...
Right.
All right.
Yes.
I don't have a roll.
So let us
take
roll. Call for the vote.
Changing it to a working group.
To a working group.
No,
Approve the people.
that was passed by ascension, but we now need to vote on the creation of the group itself.
To approve the list of the working group.
Oh, the list of it.
Was there a question? Did you say who is it?
Are we agreeing that it is a working group?
Yeah, that already passed.
And the people that have been appointed to it, like Abby.
So we're now
Angela.
agreeing to who's appointing? Who's
Yeah.
appointed?
No, this is the motion to change from an ad hoc to working group passed by assent, and now we're voting on the creation of the working group. Motion as amended. Thank you.
So
And who was the list of people?
we'll go over it again. Lori, Abby, John, B, Alan, Angela, and Kelly, of which 4 of the people mentioned are members of the neighborhood council, which...
Actually 5.
1, 2, 3, 4. Did I miss someone else?
Well, you got Lori, Abby, me.
That's
Oh,
one.
no, that's 4. You're right.
Yeah.
I keep thinking Lori's still here with us.
And as a working group, there's no limitation.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Okay.
So,
how do we take roll? I don't have a list.
take the vote count.
Okay. All right. John Weber,
John?
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. Larry Eaton,
Yes.
Gwen Henry,
Yes.
Melanie Albrecht,
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Abby Norman, Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Ray Regalado,
Yep.
Michael Signorelli,
Yes.
Adam Stevenson,
Yes.
Angela Sumner, Chris Valle.
Yes.
Okay, 13 unanimous.
All right. That takes care of agenda item number 8. Let's move on to 9. And just time check. It's 8:12. So let's hopefully move along as quickly as we can. So number 9, president meeting, the port president's meeting, I should say. Thomas?
Thank you. It was a good meeting. We'd been dark the month before. We had a conversation with folks from the city of Los Angeles on employment. It came out of a request, why can't we get weeds trimmed quicker? And it looks like the mayor's also getting involved in that to try to speed up some of these things that take months or years, by the time they can hire somebody. And we've already gone through the summer. So it looked like they're making progress in HR. And that was pretty educational. Also discussed port building demolition protocols. We had a real estate person, Marissa Kolnich, talk to us about that. LA Fleet Week, the update was a huge success. U.S. Coast Guard won for the second time. The Chile Cook-Off, you should watch the dodgeball tourney if you haven't seen it. The trolley moved 18,000 people, so they're very excited about that. For the PIP, we were singled out and thanked, as were some other neighborhood councils providing input. So right now they said they're leaning towards 2 large projects. Didn't say which they were, but more large projects versus small projects. So didn't know how to parse that, but I know we had some large projects in our recommendation. Updates on the warehouse in LA waterfront will be probably the port. Environmental Sustainability Committee will be looking at the boatyard and the amphitheater projects. We'll have some things to review soon. Discussion of the drone show, which I've since heard now a lot, that was not well received, but they were excited to save the lack of fireworks. For those who hadn't heard what happened there, the state insurance regulations changed, and I guess the current provider was not able to get a company to both insure fireworks. They could get fireworks insurance, but not fireworks from the water, or they could get insurance to do things on the water, but not fireworks on the water. So they pretty much gave the Booster Club less than 30 days to find someone else, which for the 4th of July is unrealistic. So the port, I thought, was generous in offering to help subsidize the drone show, which is more than 3 times what the cost was of the show before the pandemic. So fireworks became twice as expensive after the pandemic. Drone shows are even more. We didn't know at the time, but I don't know if other people got as many emails as I had. It was a pretty short show and too much advertising. Port Police update was pretty short. If you're interested in theater, some good Shakespeare, By the Sea coming out, Cardenio, a play I'd never heard of, Henry V coming to Wilmington, and I think there's an August 8 for San Pedro. So any questions on that? That's a little more complete because our president wasn't able to go.
Thank you. Adrian, come here. I don't see any hands.
No?
Thomas, thank you very much for being there and for the report. Okay, let's see. We will move on to committee reports, youth and outreach.
Thank you. So we already kind of cracked the can open on Peace Day. And so aside from the money and the supplies and the working group, we're hoping, again, as Lori mentioned, to reinvigorate, to kickstart not only the mission of youth and outreach, specifically partnership with Roots and Shoots, and a more ongoing, structured youth approach. Essentially, I feel like the outreach end of it, in terms of the events and our partnerships and sponsorships, has been reasonably robust, but activity specifically sponsored, specifically directed at young stakeholders, I think has been kind of lacking, and other than participation from our students for hours, we don't engage often enough. And so we are looking at the Day of Peace as an opportunity to establish and sort of cement more youth-oriented programs within youth and outreach. And then the flip side of that coin is to promote and encourage greater participation from all the members of the board and their committees as well. So we're formally asking for contributions and participation, whether it be in a working group, whether it's attendance at the Youth and Outreach Committee meetings between now and the event, and of course on the day of the event itself, from all board members and any of your committee members and anybody else that you find that might be interested in being at least a part of this event, and then hopefully part of a committee or the board going forward, now that we have an empty seat on the board. And that's really it. It was good timing in terms of personally, and I think also within the Youth and Outreach Committee, feeling like we needed to sort of take it up a notch, and also hopefully exercise some leadership for some of the parts of the board that we just don't hear from as often. And so this is about as high profile as it's going to get for the foreseeable future, and we want to make an impact not only for the community but for ourselves. I think we want to use this as an opportunity to kind of crack the whip and give everybody something to be excited about, and then build some momentum that can go, beyond this September. And also, and I had to consult with John. We
we're not going to do it.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
never mind.
Yeah, because we don't have enough. There wasn't enough time to get everything.
We had an item that was going to be considered, but because of time crunch, we're just going to essentially leave it off, and that was it.
All right. Any comments? Questions? I see no hands. Nothing from the audience. So, thank you, Chris. Appreciate the report. Budget and Finance. Melanie?
Basically, like I discussed, one of the things that we talked about is just budgeting the unallocated funds going forward and how we use them. And one of the things that you're going to see happen on the budget next, going for this fiscal year, is it's kind of in a way misrepresenting where the unallocated funds fall, like under outreach where it's listed. It makes it look like it belongs to outreach when really the unallocated funds belong to the board. And so I'm going to give a separate section to the unallocated funds so it doesn't, transparency-wise, that way it's not up there with outreach in the events underneath it. It looks more like it's its own column to start deducting money off it so it can go wherever it needs to go. So that will show up on the budget like that this fiscal year going forward. Budget advocate stuff, my arm got twisted and my leg pulled and twisted upside down, and I'm budget advocate again, reelected. So, yeah, for Region 12. And I think that's where I got my virus, too. So
oh, my.
I got a 2 for. But anyway, that's it.
That's it?
We got elections, next year.
This year.
This year in our...
Yeah, we do have elections this year. And money's allocated for that already, so.
Okay. Any questions, comments? I see no hands. Let's go ahead and move on. Thank you for that, Melanie. Public safety?
Nothing, because it was the town hall night.
Okay.
Rex, since we're on public safety, can I make a statement?
Yes, absolutely.
So, because I do believe that this board is kind of like an educational body, especially as an arm in the community, the statement about the gang members, I just think it's very important that we understand culture, all right?
Right.
And so in settings like that, you have gang interventionists that have a license to operate that will work at Toberman. And I know the angst and anxiety that we have about gangs, but at the end of the day, a man still lost his life. And so that means that gang interventionists would have gotten together and decided that because it's a fundraiser and not somebody's father and not somebody's son, that they would raise funds without there being incident. And so many times when you see gang members, yes, there's active gang members, but you also have those who are no longer active and are former gang members. And so the same way we have a code of conduct and things that we do here, there just is a culture and a code of conduct in the streets. And I think it's insensitive, especially coming off the heels of implicit bias training, to point to that and say that gang members are getting together and sadly, gang violence and things that happen, but as a veteran, yeah, they'll bury me somewhere, and I have insurance, but gang members don't have insurance, and a lot of times the plight and the traumas of their life, and so that's the only way to raise funds. And so I just think we should be sensitive in all areas with this body and understanding culture. And so, yes, there's times where things are going on and it's violent, and the LAPD and those, they need to come out. But there are also times where the people in the community are just getting together and raising funds to bury their loved one or do whatever. And so every time that you see gang members, I think there needs to be an understanding of their culture as well. And you stated that they were mellow.
Right,
and so
they were.
If they are mellow, and if they're not causing incident, I just think that we should be fair, especially coming off the heights of what Lori said about Father Boyle, because you could pass my church on any given Sunday, and that park that's next to my church is filled with gang members and former gang members because I've made my church available to them, and the council member has said to me publicly that he thanks me for activating that park. And so if we can just have some consideration and understanding and not always pick up the phone because you see people with tattoos or whatever and you do not understand their culture, maybe you should find a translator, have a conversation with somebody who understands, because at the end of the day, again, that was somebody's father and son, and they were raising money for a funeral.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me clarify for you. I am not stupid. And I'm very well versed. I'm very well versed on the gang, so you don't know what I did to get to the point that I went to. I contacted LAPD. They contacted the gang unit. I sent them the flyer because the flyer was sent to me. They came back to me and said, oh, this is a gang member that was shot. This is a gang get-together. What they were doing on the flyer was going to sell alcohol. Alcohol is not allowed in the park. It is not allowed to be sold.
Melanie, let me say, let's lower the tone. Let's.
Okay.
And I think.
So I
Melanie,
vetted it with the gang officers and everything.
Melanie, please, hang on a second. The statement was just understanding.
And I do understand.
Okay, so it's just a matter of,
we need to listen.
Adam I think did a very good job by saying that there are cultures out there that we all have to have some understanding. If we don't, then we have to gain that knowledge. The use of terms, and I think you probably got this from your dispute resolution training, is that the use of terms can be very abrasive depending on who your audience is.
Right.
So I think it is my feeling that the term gang member in this very unique situation to look for fundings just for a burial, I think there is a distinction there. We're talking about the ability to help a family bury their family members. And I think there is what we were looking at. If there is side conversations about who the individuals may have been, probably this is not the appropriate place and time to identify and to cast any kind of dispersions, because sometimes the listener may take it as as a dig on that particular culture, as that particular group of individuals, which then leads to sometimes racial bias, sometimes gender bias, because of all these different things. So I believe the comments by Adam is to make sure that there is a distinction, that we try to be more diplomatic in how we identify these people, and we're not going to justify or even push it out to somebody else that it's that's how they identify it. We just want to make sure that there was honestly, and this is how I interpret it, there was an honest effort to help bury people. And I think
the biggest concern was the alcohol being sold.
Melanie, the alcohol being served and things like that, I think, is a non-issue in this particular discussion.
Right, but I wanted to understand why the reach out was done, not because they were gang members, just that alcohol was going to be sold, alcohol was going to be served, and it was going to be a problem because it's not allowed for anybody in the park.
Okay.
Ever.
Okay. And
then it turned into, this is...
So you stated it, but understand that moving forward, understand that let's put things in its proper perspective. Let's get away from casting any kind of dispersions on any group out there, given the fact that we're talking about a tragedy that occurred to a family and allowing the family to take care of its family members. And that's the important part here. I don't believe that in our language we need to identify any specifics in this particular thing. So I think if Adam, if I'm hopefully saying it properly, I appreciate the comment. And Melanie, I appreciate your enthusiasm in this. We just have to be able to understand the use of...
And I didn't identify him that way. LAPD identified him that way to me.
But I think the comment is identifying it in this audience the way it was identified. So we're not justifying anything like that, okay? And moving forward, let's try to avoid using that type of thing, especially with the training that we have all undertaken to avoid these types of things. So I appreciate, your enthusiasm. Lori, do you have a comment?
Thank you, Pastor Adam. Listening to Father Boyle and understanding that no human is a throwaway. Just like I hear with homelessness, people are not throwaway. And the biggest takeaway I got from listening to him, and there was a lot of inspirational comments, was, do you know what the root cause of homelessness is? And the answer I'd never heard put that way.
Poverty.
The lack of relationships. Yep. So when he's dealing with people who are coming out of prison or whatever, and you ask them to fill out their emergency contact card, they don't have anybody's name to put down on there. Just really listening to that statement, it was so simple, but it resonated with me. And all the years I've worked on homelessness, I never heard it put that way. And I do my best to be open-minded out there, and we have safety concerns, but everybody's a human and nobody's a throwaway, and we never give up. Thank you for your comments.
Well, I'm going to say one thing. If we're all into the religious, just remember one thing. God doesn't look at anybody, whether you're a murderer or this or that. You're still a person. And if God could forgive all of those, well, then so can we.
All right. With your all permission, I think we're going to go ahead and move on this. Yep. So, Bylaws and Elections Committee, there was nothing that I can report on at this particular point. Executive Committee, very deep discussion on our meeting about what goes into our agenda and what we need to focus on. So that essentially is the product of our Executive Committee is exhibited in our agenda. Moving on, Planning and Land Use Committee, Diana or Jason. I believe that they are gone already, so we'll move on from there. Community Issues Committee, Dan and or John Barbera.
Yeah, we didn't do the report, but we basically talked about the Vincent Thomas Bridge, most of our discussion, and some stuff that needs to be done, like, sidewalks and street repairs that are getting really bad in San Pedro. So, but like I said, most of the discussion was on the Vincent Thomas that we concentrated on. So,
thank you. Community issues. Oh no, we just did that. Port, Environment, and Sustainability Committee. Please.
No report.
No report. Christensen Science Center.
Last time I mentioned that there had been chickens there and they went away for no particular reason. I have since found out that the apparent reason they were moved off was because Lawrence Daniel, who is the STEM tech there, is being reassigned, although I don't know if he knows where yet, because I don't think he's gotten his official assignment letter. But the apparent reason for moving them out is because there was going to be nobody there to take care of them once he was reassigned. That is of particular concern for where the Science Center is going from here, because the rest of the people who are in the offices there are coded as being part of the community of schools. Lawrence was the only one who was coded as being a Science Center person. So now the question is, what's going to happen to the Science Center when all the people there are coded as community of schools and nobody is coded as being a Science Center person? So I don't know what the answer to that question is yet, but I think we all need to be very wary of what LAUSD is doing going forward, considering what they've tried to do in the past. So that's all I can tell you at this point.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you're saying that, all right, that doesn't bode well for the Science Center as an entity and the possibility of continuing possibly STEM classes, hopes of creating tours over there, the kids going and learning STEM sciences in a agricultural setting. Has the budget for LASD been cut and the staff been cut as well? Is that where that came from?
Partially, yes. His position was eliminated due to budget constraints, from what I understand. As far as the first part of your question, where is there going to be anything where students can go over and that sort of thing? As far as LAUSD proper is concerned, it does not appear so at this point. The reason I say it that way is because Feed and Be Fed, unless something has changed, is also there. I believe it's still twice a week. and they, and again, unless things have changed, they have plans for having some sort of educational events, I don't know any details, over the summer. But beyond that, I don't know. I don't know of any LAUSD-sponsored things like that, like the pilot program that had been started pre-COVID. That has not been started up again, and nobody has ever given me an answer when I keep asking about having, what's going on.
Perhaps the Roots and Shoots program could be incorporated somehow into this treasure that we have in San Pedro. Hopefully the ad hoc committee can have discussions, or Roots and Shoots could be alerted to this, the potentials here in San Pedro, if not with the LAUSD, then other educational opportunities that the LAUSD might benefit from and could be a partner in.
Could it be due to budget?
And if I can, please step up. But while you're walking up, if I could just perhaps maybe, Vic, if there is something we can do as a neighborhood council to ask the question, to maybe get some type of direction, seeing what the future is, let's do that. If you come up with some kind of letter or something, if you feel it would be appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm so glad I happen to be here right now. And I volunteer with Feed and Be Fed, and I know they have state funding for over the summer. They have actually, some of my high school students are maybe going to get funded to work in that farm. I started horticulture. I teach at Port Los Angeles High School. I started horticulture and my environmental engineering class at that site. And we did amazing things. I love Lawrence. I'm so bummed. And I also just want to say, I think we should strongly advocate, budget cuts, my goodness. There's so much over administration at LA Unified, as well as we know city budget, I'm sorry, but 54% goes to the police. Let's give 5% of that and do urban farms around Los Angeles. And my daughter was raised going there. And I say this because some of you young people, maybe someone new to the community doesn't know. It used to have a pig the size of a hippopotamus. Her name was Ophelia. She was amazing. It used to have thousands of reptiles. It was a place that when some illegal animal was brought in from the port, macaws stuck in a tube, they were brought to this place. It was a refuge for illegal animals brought through the port. They had my daughter's first pony. She fell in love. Peaches was there. It was amazing. They had chickens and goats and turkeys, and my daughter got a farm experience in San Pedro because of that place. She's a natural young lady because of the Science Center, and I would do anything I could to, restore it back. And not only that, we miss Nan too. Those little goats used to say, Nan, Nan. That was the name of the woman who took care of them. But what a tragedy in misguided development of a city.
Can you state your name for the record?
Rachel Brunke. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much.
And to support that, do recognize that the peace event is in collaboration with Darlene Zavalny, whose husband, John Zavalny, was key to the Science Center.
Yeah. Maybe he could be asked to come back. That would be interesting.
And, but there is great love in this city for that. And there seems to be a synergy at this moment. And if Youth and Outreach is really serious about this, that this could be a real prize, especially with all of the disappointments, including that back in 2018, there was a school event where they were going to turn it into a magnet school and put just pave it over, and everybody freaked out. So
they had neglected to advertise that very well in the community, and I'm actually the one who brought it to people's attention, and then they finally had an event at Taper Avenue in their auditorium, and that was
Huge.
That was pretty much a madhouse. Everybody was against it and that sort of thing, and then they finally decided to stop it. They claimed because they couldn't mitigate various EIR type things, but I think personally it was mainly the community overwhelming opposition to it.
If I could be so bold as to perhaps ask that maybe next month our presentation be in and around the Science Center and see what we might be able to do, might be able to get some kind of information, might promote the need to be more advocates for the Science Center, because it sounds to me that that's what is needed. You know,
ask Carvalho. Write letters to Carvalho.
Well, I mean, we need a plan. So, I mean, it looks like we have an ad hoc committee that's playing the role of this. Vic, you know, I mean, holy mackerel, who's more important? So, if you...
The other question I have with Vic is that, you know, the Williamson Center right over there, is that program also been discontinued? You know, the
Look, there's a lot of questions we can ask. I suggest we hold them off because we are running over. I don't want to take advantage of our partners with Parks and Rec here. So, Angela, I'm going to ask you, do you have a report?
You know, I have the good stuff. Gwen already presented the really terrible stuff. The report includes all of the current programs and upcoming events. So they're in there.
They're in there? Okay. And I promise next month we're going to hit you up first if it's appropriate.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, actually, can I say one more thing? In my last report, I did give feedback for issues for committees to follow up on. And I haven't heard, do I go to those committees for updates?
Yeah. I think that'll also promote the discussion. Okay. With that said, with no objection, I'd like to adjourn the meeting at 8:41. Thank you all for your participation. Sorry it ran a little bit over. Michael, please we're asking for forgiveness.
Tonight or later, another day?